Now we are collecting coconut shell at Pasar Pagi Gombak. So this is, we have a lot here. Okay. Dia boleh ambil dengan jam je. So we bring our collected coconut shell to the lab so that we can crush straight away. Where is the crusher? So there is crusher. So as you can see here, we got like 2 basket full of coconut shell, and we want to see how much the crush sample will be. Usually we dry this first, but because coconut shell are hard, we can crush first and dry later. So it depends on the convenience lah. At the moment, we believe it's much easier for us to crush this first and then dry later. We also have our full basin of coconut shell that taken 3 weeks ago. But then if you left the coconut shell for long, you can see the fungus start growing on the whitish part there. Okay, the coconut shell is okay, but then because we collect the coconut shell with some what we call some the coconut fresh coconut flesh there, so the fungus will grow on that. This can be used for our sample because after all we will crush and then we can just sterilize before we use for our purpose. The problem that we don't want to crush this and to use as our sample is because we want to store this thing. So imagine if you crush this, we put in the container, and then because there are fungus there, it will sort of like contaminate the entire container. So you can use this provided that we first wash this fungus away first and dry that, and then we crush that, then it's okay lah. But it's quite an hassle to what we call to wash and so on. So yeah, it's okay. We also have here what we call coconut husk lah, the fiber from the fruit itself. Normally we can go to the plantation, but because they sell it online, so we just buy it online lah. So this we have around 2 kilograms of coconut husk here. So we also want to crush this fiber lah. Okay, so let's crush that. Okay, stop. Okay, as you can see now, what we call the coconut shell cannot go down because the blade cannot catch it up. Most probably because it's too much there. So we need to open this thing first. We need to make sure we close everything first. Okay, and then we open this thing. Okay, and then as you can see now, it's full of that. Okay, so that's the reason why the blade cannot catch it up, the shell. So we need to put it one by one, or like, I mean, not too much at one go lah. Okay, we done crushing our fresh coconut sample that we take this morning. So this is the texture of the crushed sample. So it's feel quite wet because we not dry first. So what we will do later on, we dry this what I call this grinded sample lah. So all in all, we can say that from these 2 baskets full of coconut shell, we can get around these 2 basin of grinded sample, which is quite a lot lah. We don't know how little is this, I'm not sure, but maybe more than 40 to 50 liter of sample. So now we will dry this thing. Okay, as we mentioned before, we also work with the coconut fiber. This is also known as coconut coir or coconut husk. It's coming from the outer part of coconut fruit itself. This is coming from the old or matured coconut fruit. Normally the color is this lah, brownish color, and people use it to make a santan coconut milk. Okay. You can also go to the street and find people sell coconut water, and typically that type of coconut is green in color. That is young coconut. That the sabut, I mean the outer part, also can turn into this, provided you dry that part for a while until it's turned like this color, and then you can just take out the fiber. The thing is, if you have this what we call the outer part, to get this fiber, it's like you need typically you need some sort of like specialized machine lah to fasten your part, or else you need to what we call to defibrillate one by one, which is hard. Not hard, I mean that is quite tedious lah. So people sell this online for orchid, for what we call those who have an orchid flower. They use this as like what we call the plantation, the I mean something to do with that lah. And also people also sell this as a cocoa peat. Cocoa peat is basically this thing, you grind it until it become powder, and then they sell it as a cocoa peat. It's the same thing lah. So we want now to crush this stuff. As you can see, is like a long fiber and also very thin, and this is, I can say, the hardest type of fiber of sample that you can crush using this crusher lah, at my back. Because why? It's thin and also it's long, it's flexible. Even though it's dry, the probability for this to get caught in the blade is high. I mean that sometimes the machine stuck because of this what we call berselirat, or what we call caught caught through the process lah. So normally what you can do to prevent that is that you will sort of like make like a ball like this, okay, and then you throw into the what we call into the crusher. By doing that, you minimize the probability of this fiber being caught by the rotating blade lah. So when this is 2 kilogram of coconut fiber, so it's quite cheap. It's around like 2 to 4 ringgit per kilogram. So rather than you go and find it yourself and to remove the fiber by yourself, it's just easy for you to buy online lah. And also typically when they send to you, sometimes you need to open it as soon as possible, because sometimes they put this outside the environment, so when they are raining, so you got like more probability to receive the what I call the wet coir or wet fiber. So if you get wet fiber, what you do is that you open it and you just let it dry, air dry lah. So for this fiber, I don't think you need to what we call to sort of like dry at the beginning, unless it's very wet lah. Unless it's very wet, then it's good for you to dry first lah. But if it's not really wet, then it's still okay lah. This is there are some wetness, but I think it's bearable. Let's see whether this can be crushed by the machine or not. So this how much you can get. So you can see this 2 kilogram of cocoa fiber. So let's see here. So this is 2 kilogram of cocoa fiber. You can have this machine. The best practice is to let it dry first. This some wetness, but I think it's okay. Let's try first. Okay, as I said before, in order to crush this coconut coir, you need to make like a ball out of it, so that the fiber will not get entangled between the rotating blade. And then once you get the ball, you can just put inside there, and then you can take another ball, and then you can just put inside like that lah. Okay, and you can hear the sound. So that is the sound how the what you call the blade crush the coconut ball. Okay, so if you look down there, you can see this what we call the texture of the coconut fiber that we crush. Previously it start with a long fiber, now it become a small short fiber lah, which is what we want lah. The thing is that you need to do it one by one. For example, here we got like a ball. You cannot just straight away put like in one go everything. I mean, like you need to put it one by one, because if there is too lot of this, then the probability for it entangle between the rotating blade is high lah. So for this, you need to be patient lah, slowly one by one like that. Okay. Typically, this coconut coil will take some time lah, even though you have only one basin. But you need to be patient because you need to make a ball first, and then you need to put inside this thing one by one to prevent it from become caught by the rotating blade and so on. That's why here they are only a little, because we do it slowly. Okay. Okay, we done crushing the coconut fiber. So we got this much. We start with the entire basin here. So we got this much of shredded coconut fiber. So the texture is like this, and also is looks a little bit wet. There are some moisture, so you cannot straight away store this thing into the container lah. Okay, so this is how much we got the shredded sample. We have this basin, and it's like 1/4 of the basin, of the volume for this basin. Okay, so this will go for drying first. For coconut sample, whether it's a coconut shell or coconut fiber, we can basically crush first before we dry. Normally, the other sample we dry first before we crush. The reason being is that for coconut, if you look at this, what we call at this shell, even though it's wet, it's still hard, and this thing doesn't really absorb too much moisture, so the blade of the crusher don't have any problem to crush this thing even though it's wet. Similar to the what we call the coconut fiber, we bought it online, and it's come a little bit wet, but it's not too wet, and because it doesn't really absorb too much water at this fiber form, so the blade have no problem to crush this thing, provided you make like a ball like you see just now lah. The thing is, we have a lot of stuff here. Okay, for coconut shell, we start with two big basket here, and we got this how many tray? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tray. The normal baking tray, which is 60 times 30 like that, I believe. So we don't have like a dryer that can accommodate this stuff lah. So what we can do is that we need to put it to let the air to flow, so it can dry naturally lah for a while waiting the dryer to be finished for other sample lah, because after all we need to still dry it. If you look here, even though at the top it look like whitish because of the air circulation there, but then if you go down, you can see it's like black in color. It's like quite wet in the bottom lah. So that's why it's important for us to dry it anyway in the dryer, because if you put on the open air, it dry, but on the top only. So unless you make it like very thin layer, then it's okay lah, but we don't have space for that. So this for coconut shell, we will take turn, but first we can accommodate this inside our dryer. Our dryer can only fit this small tray, so we put this coconut fiber first, because we have only 8 of that. So you can see we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tray. So 2 kilo of this coconut fiber that we bought from the online store. We can get like 8 small tray of this. I'm not sure how many volume of that. Anyway, our small dryer can accommodate around 20 of this tray if you stack very closely one above another. So we dry this first, and then after we done here, we start to dry slowly this one and until the end lah. So that's the way. One last thing about this crushed coconut sample is that when we have this big tray of sample here, we can transfer it into the small tray for drying purpose. So we want to see how many of small tray is needed to accommodate all this sample. So we have one here, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and lastly 7 here, because we have some left over here. I believe we can fit everything here into this one tray. So we can conclude that one of the big tray can be transferred into 7 of this small tray. And it's important for you to make it like a flat here so that you can minimize the gap and maximize the storage inside our dryer lah. As I said before, we have 20 layer, we can accommodate 20 layer of this tray. So by knowing one of this can accommodate 7 of that, so you can do calculation and plan accordingly lah. How many time you need to, how many time is needed to finish drying everything here. So I think that is good for planning purpose.